Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc.
An opposition legislator in St. Vincent urges government to take legal action against the European Union. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Wednesday, January 2. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Ricardo Roberts. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. An opposition legislator in St. Vincent and the Grenadines says the Ralph Gonsalves administration should consider taking legal action against the European Union over what she says is the grouping's extraterritorial actions to force small states to enforce its tax laws. K. Bacchus-Batiste is taking the issue with the EU's move to force CARICOM countries to adopt measures regarding the establishment of international businesses in the region, and she wants the matter to be taken before the international courts. Prime Minister Gonsalves has already called for a unified CARICOM approach to the issue after telling legislators that some countries have already surrendered or are inclined to surrender. He called for coordinated creative resistance, but Bacchus-Batiste wants the government to go further. She said, quote, "I also feel that what the European Union is doing is illegal, and I do not think that creative resistance by just saying so is enough. I think we have to go further. I think we should challenge it in the International Court of Justice because you are using your power to enforce your view. And I do agree that it is ruling extraterritorially, and to say it with indignation and just sit down will not make one single difference." End quote. Late last month, Grenada, which is among several countries blacklisted by the European Union in 2017 as having harmful tax legislation, repealed several pieces of legislation required for establishing international businesses there. International human rights organization Amnesty International is appealing to countries in the English-speaking Caribbean to abolish the death penalty. The appeal comes as the Caribbean marked its first decade as an execution-free region. The last execution in the region was in St. Kitts and Nevis back in 2008. Amnesty said while it congratulates governments who have recognized the ultimate cruelty of the death penalty, those states that still retain this punishment should take further steps to abolish it. The human rights body said figures on the use of the death penalty in the English-speaking Caribbean indicate there has been a significant reduction in the application of it in recent years. The London-based organization said only half of the 12 English-speaking Caribbean countries have imposed new death sentences since the last was carried out. 5 countries, Antigua and Barbuda, Bahamas, Belize, Jamaica, and St. Lucia, commuted their remaining death sentences between 2013 and 2017. Now, according to Amnesty International, at the end of 2017, over 96% of death row inmates in the English-speaking Caribbean were in 3 countries: Barbados, Guyana, and Trinidad and Tobago. Now, those countries retain the mandatory death penalty on their law books. Jamaica's opposition leader Dr. Peter Phillips has turned down a request from Prime Minister Andrew Holness for a meeting on the crime situation in the country on Wednesday, but he has left open the possibility of the talks taking place at a later date. Holness has written Phillips on Monday proposing the meeting, adding that his administration views the current crime situation as an existential threat to the security of the country and a national emergency of exceptional public importance. But Phillips said the proposed date for the meeting was inappropriate at this time, and the earliest a People's National Party team could be assembled is January 7th. More in this report from TVJ News.
Since the opposition withdrew their support for an extension of the states of emergency in St. James, the St. Catherine North Police Division, and sections of Kingston, several letters on the issue have passed between the Office of the Opposition Leader and the Office of the Prime Minister, OPM. Among the latest, one from the Prime Minister dated December 31, requesting a meeting on January 2. Speaking with TVJ News, Opposition Leader Dr. Peter Phillips blasted the timing of the request.
I find it surprising that having replied to him on the 18th of December, we get something in the late afternoon of New Year's Eve asking us for a meeting after a public holiday. It just quite frankly was not enough time and was an unrealistic expectation.
In a release also sent on Monday, the OPM said the opposition is either confused or disingenuous as they reject the use of SOEs, yet they're advocating for actions that could only be carried out under the SOEs. In the responding letter dated January 1, the opposition leader also questioned the motives of the OPM, stating that, quote, the news release from your office went further to denigrate the principled and constitutionally correct position of the opposition, end quote. However, despite dismissing the possibility of a January 2 meeting between both leaders, Dr. Phillips has proposed a preparatory group meeting to establish preliminary arrangements for a meeting at a later date.
We have suggested that it should meet immediately, which would mean tomorrow sometime, if he's prepared to accept our suggestion. And we have indicated that Mr. Julian Robinson, MP, would be the lead person in our membership of the preparatory group. It doesn't have to be a large group, probably about 4 people, 2 from each side.
Dr. Phillips is also suggesting that other groups, including the church, human rights advocates, as well as private sector representatives, should be present to broaden the discussion beyond just the states of emergency.
You're watching Caribbean Newsline. Over in Trinidad and Tobago, criminologist Professor Ramesh Deosaran is calling for a change in the country's self-defense laws. He says the crime situation warrants a revision of the legislation to give people a better chance against the criminal elements.
And there needs to be a revision on the laws of self-defense now. Too many people are entering your premises day and night and attacking you and raping you and robbing you and leaving you violently hurt and so on, because the law says you must use equal force. Now, what is equal force? Equal force is not merely a physical act. It has to do with the circumstances. If somebody comes in your house in the night to steal, they can likely kill you. So you have a further entitlement to respond to us to disarm them or to give them some physical handicap. And the law cannot say, well, you use undue force. The person who is in my premises in the middle of the night.
On the debate regarding the one-shot, one-kill policy, Professor Deosaran says that police officers have the right to defend themselves.
You cannot form a committee to decide whether the criminal will shoot you or not. You have to respond expeditiously. Once a gun is pointed at you, the intention to me cannot be assumed. It is a precise activity that must be responded to accordingly, because it's not only you as an individual officer might be in danger. The law tells you if others are in danger, the response must be appropriate.
The criminologist says that Commissioner Griffith has enhanced the image of the police service and gained the support of the public.
He's different from the rest in that he's present on the crime scenes, something I have always suggested in terms of leadership. A leader must inspire, not only manage, especially an agency like the police service. You need to inspire people. And I think that is what he's doing too. More than that, he's digging more deeply in terms of talking about the corruption in the service that he's prepared to deal with. The public awaits very anxiously.
That report from Aksha Galston of TV6 News. Staying in Trinidad and Tobago, health officials are reporting several cases of the H1N1 or swine flu. But Acting Medical Director of the Southwest Regional Health Authority, Dr. Robin Sinanan, says there is no need for alarm.
We have had a couple of cases of H1N1 patients. I can't give you the exact figure right now, but it's not alarming. But we are taking steps to treat the patients and bump up our immunization programs and so on.
Dr. Robin Sinanan says the H1N1 virus has been endemic to TNT for some time, And despite regular screening of travelers by the Ministry of Health, it continues to present itself. But Health Minister Terence Dialsingh says the government has taken steps to protect citizens from this potentially deadly flu, having brought in 75,000 influenza vaccines that can be accessed free of charge at the various health institutions.
It is up to the public to safeguard their health by getting the flu vaccination shot. But people, unless there's an emergency, they don't see the need for vaccinations. In the past 3 years, we have only had 2 deaths due to flu. That's a phenomenal achievement which goes unrecognized.
Coming up in Caribbean Newsline, the legitimacy of the motion of no confidence passed against the Guyana government is under the microscope. Stay with us. More news after this.
Follow your heart to St. Kitts and make plans to join us at the 23rd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival. 5 days of world-class entertainment from Wednesday, June 26th to Sunday, June 30th, 2019. See Butcher Banton live as he makes his epic return to St. Kitts. Also, French Montana and Davido. Popcorn and the legendary Smokey Robinson. This is just the first wave of announcements. Many more acts to come. For more information, log on to stkitsmusicfestival.net. The St. Kitts Music Festival, an experience like no other.
Shower in the morning, shower in the evening, or take a fresh at night. Enjoy a warm shower with Solar Dynamics, you feel alright. Comfort, safety, temperature guaranteed. Long service, fulfilling your every need. Take a shower in comfort, no more ups with water touch you. Solar Dynamics is the best for you. Save on electricity, be environmentally friendly. Solar Dynamics is the one for you.
The debate continues in Guyana over the legitimacy of the motion of no confidence passed against the government last month. The motion, which was brought by opposition leader Barra Jagdeo on December 21st, succeeded after the then government backbencher Chandras Prasad voted in favor of it. Prasad's vote gave the opposition the majority it needed for the motion to succeed in the 65-seat National Assembly. But Attorney General Basil Williams argues that the opposition needed 34 and not 33 votes for an absolute majority. And the David Granger administration says it will await a ruling by the Speaker of Parliament, Dr. Barton Scotland, on the consequences of the motion when Parliament meets on Thursday. Jagdeo says it's not the Speaker's place to decide. More in this report from HGP Nightly News.
Attorney General Basil Williams had said that in 2014, then Attorney General Anil Nandlal had received a legal opinion indicating that a 34 majority was needed to have the APNU-FC no confidence motion passed. However, the Ramatar administration evaded the motion by proroguing the parliament and headed to early elections.
Anil Nandlal receiving a legal opinion in 2014 has no bearing on the current matter. No one argued that went to the parliament, pursued this issue, and then argued in the National Assembly that you need 34 to pass a no confidence motion. Clearly, the PPP at that time understood that you needed 33 votes to pass the no confidence motion.
HGP Nightly News asked the opposition leader if the opposition intends to abide by the court's ruling. This was his response.
So this would not be a long, drawn-out matter. It would not be a long, it should not be. I hope that the courts themselves don't try to, as Basil Williams said before, that he has some control over timelines, etc., in the court, frustrate this, because they'll be complicit in this matter too, if they frustrate the constitutional deadline.
The opposition has no intention of attending Parliament except for those matters that will affect the Article 106(7) of the Constitution.
Meantime, Jagdeo plans to sue an executive member of the ruling People's National Congress, Reform, for libel following comments he made about the no-confidence vote. The details from Handel Duncan of HGP TV Nightly News.
Legal proceedings are to be instituted against the executive member of the People's National Congress, Reform, Aubrey Norton, by opposition leader Bar Jagdeo. Aubrey Norton reportedly accused Jagdeo of bribing former government parliamentarian Charamdas Persad to give his yes vote to the opposition side. Jagdeo charged, too, that all media houses that carried the story could face legal proceedings like Norton unless a retraction is made.
So that will happen over the course of the next few days. And I was extremely pleased when in the same one of the stories, because you had a balanced story, I think, in Demerara Waves, when they were asked for evidence, Norton said he didn't have to give any evidence, that that's for someone else to do, basically implying he did not have any evidence.
The opposition leader said that he has already instructed his lawyers to begin the proceeding.
And ahead in Newsline Sport, off-spinner Shane Shillingford suspended from regional cricket. We'll tell you why after the break.
Renowned for its pristine beachfront and fantastic weather, continues to leave quite an impression on newcomers to the island and returning visitors. The Caribbean island, quite popular as a vacation hotspot, is not only beautiful due to its natural aesthetics. The island of Barbados continues to grow in popularity because of unique connections developed with our people, our culture. We can't wait to welcome you.
Off-spinner Shane Shillingford has been suspended from regional cricket following a suspect bowling action in the last round of action of the regional four-day tournament between the Windward Islands Volcanoes and Guyana Jaguars in St. Lucia. Now, reports reaching CMC Sport indicate that the sanction imposed against the cricketer drew some concerns since it was believed proper procedure was not followed by Cricket West Indies, the CWI. Now, our sources indicate that once a suspect bowling action is reported, an assessment is done at an ICC-accredited center to determine whether the bowling action is in fact illegal. But we are told this was not done by CWI, which relied on an opinion from an official in England who saw a video clip of Shillingford's action and deemed it illegal. Veteran Caribbean umpire Billy Doctrove, speaking on the matter, expressed surprise at the decision to ban Shillingford. He says it may have been a bit hazy.
I am really surprised and skeptical in the process used to take the decision to suspend Shane Shillingford from bowling. And generally, when umpires are not totally satisfied with the legality of a bowler's action, that matter is reported and then the bowler has to be further tested. Even as umpires, when we take a close-up view of bowler's action, standing both at the bowler's end and also square on, it is always very difficult to have any certainty as to the level of degrees that the bowler's arm is bent. So to take that decision based on a camera and video footage, which is analyzed by an individual without having the necessary supporting scientific video evidence, is in my mind very inadequate. I think the decision was a bit rushed, and when dealing with such a very sensitive matter, I think the authorities should err on the side of caution and only take that decision when they are satisfied that all normally recognized procedures dealing with a bowler having a suspect action have been followed. And in this case, I really don't think that those procedures were followed and implemented.
Now, it's not the first time the 35-year-old Dominican has been sanctioned for suspect bowling. Back in 2014, Shillingford was banned from playing in the third test against New Zealand for the same reason. Now, Doctrove says if he did in fact play an illegal bowling action, then he has reaped what he has sown.
But I also want to add that if Shane bowled the Dusra, which he has advised, well, not only advised but instructed not to bowl anymore, then he would have been at fault. Because from the first instance that the umpires had recognized the Dusra was bowled, that would raise the suspicions, and Shane would be immediately, he would be placed under the microscope. When as a bowler you are facing this situation, you have to prevent yourself from that close scrutiny. So if in fact he had bowled the Dusra, which seemed to be the case, he would just be inviting closer scrutiny by the umpires. So at the end of the day, he actually attracted that controversy onto himself by not following those instructions which he had received.
Still in cricket, fit again, West Indies Test captain Jason Holder is one of 7 current West Indies players named in a full-strength 13-man Barbados Pride squad for the high-profile third-round clash in the Regional 4-Day Championship against 4-time reigning champions Guyana Jaguars starting on Friday. Now, the 27-year-old Holder is joined by opener Craig Brathwaite, batsman Roston Chase, wicket-keeper Shane Durridge, off-spinner Ashley Nurse, Seema Kimara Roach and left-arm spinner Jumel Warrican. Now, of the squad, only opener Shane Mosley, batsman Aaron Jones and Keon Harding lack international experience, as fast bowler Miguel Cummins played the last of his 13 tests last July, while left-hander Jonathan Carter has already played 28 one-dayers, and captain Shamar Brooks has extensive experience leading West Indies A. However, there is no Shea Hope, the stylish right-hander, who shone brightest for West Indies in the limited overs series against Bangladesh last month. Pride will hope to get a bounce from the presence of Windies players, especially following 2 rather lackluster performances. They lie second in the 4-day standings on 22.6 points behind Jaguars, who have 37 following wins in their first 2 matches. Reigning T20 champions West Indies have automatically qualified for next year's Cricket World Cup in Australia. Now, the Caribbean side booked their spot by virtue of their 7th place in the ICC T20 rankings at year-end, with the top 8 teams, including hosts Australia, all securing their places at the showpiece. Minnows Afghanistan, coached by Trinidadian and former West Indies head coach Phil Simmons, also qualified by virtue of their 8th place in the rankings. Former champions and three-time finalists Sri Lanka, ranked 9th, and Bangladesh 10th, will have to go through the group stage of the tournament with 6 other qualifiers in order to make the Super 12s. Now, 6 teams from the ICC T20 World Cup qualifier later this year will join Sri Lanka and Bangladesh in the group stage, with 4 qualifying to the Super 12 stage. Now, West Indies won the T20 World Cup for the second time back in 2016 when they beat England in a dramatic final in Kolkata. And finally, a cricket commentator in Trinidad and Tobago is shocked by the decision by Cricket West Indies to appoint its director of cricket, Richard Pybus, to the post of head coach. Colin Murray believes it may have been a bad decision. Cricket West Indies Chief Executive Johnny Grave confirmed the development in an interview with Trinidad Newsday, pointing out that Pybus would lead the men's squad until the end of India's tour of the Caribbean next September.
Now that it's been made public that Richard Pybus has agreed to take up the role of West Indies head coach, it's only inevitable that reactions will follow. Cricket analyst Colin Murray, who is by no means impressed with the choice, says it's quite a surprising move.
Richard Pybus has not had, to me, a very successful stint. He was director of West Indies Cricket from 2013 to 2016. The one thing I remember him for was that he said in order to qualify to play for the West Indies, you had to play in the domestic competitions, which I totally disagree with. He also had a stint with Pakistan and Bangladesh, which to me wasn't all that great either.
Murray says he would have opted for someone else if he had the power to appoint the head coach of the Windies side.
Personally, I would have loved to have seen a West Indian as the head coach. I said it before. I thought Phil Simmons, in my view, over the last few coaches we've had, he was the one who did a really good job. He's gone to Afghanistan and is doing an even better job.
Murray says...
And that's the sports. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc.
Follow your heart to St. Kitts and make plans to join us at the 23rd Annual St. Kitts Music Festival. 5 days of world-class entertainment from Wednesday, June 26th to Sunday, June 30th, 2019. See Butcher Benton live as he makes his epic return to St. Kitts. Also, French Montana and Davido. Popcorn and the legendary Smokey Robinson. This is just the first wave of announcements. Many more acts to come. For more information, log on to StKittsMusicFestival.net. The St. Kitts Music Festival, an experience like no other.
Shower in the morning, shower in the evening, or take a fresh at night. Enjoy a warm shower with Solar Dynamics, you feel alright. Comfort, safety, temperature guaranteed. Long service, fulfilling your every need. Take a shower in comfort and no more upstream water touch you. Solar Dynamics is the best for you. Save on electricity, be environmentally friendly. Solar Dynamics is the one for you.
Again, the major developments of this day: an opposition legislator in St. Vincent wants government to take legal action against the EU over its actions to force small states to enforce its tax laws. And in sport, of spinner Shane Shillingford suspended from regional cricket for suspect bowling action in the regional 4-day tournament. That's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sports round the clock, subscribe to CarlinNews.com. For more of our programming, log on to caribvision.tv and check out our YouTube channel. We'll be back here again tomorrow, but from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching. Have yourselves a good night.